Since the dawn of time, people played. Not necessarily video games as we know them today, but there were obviously things that took place in real life, like football or chess. But there were also other fun activities, like tag and hide and seek. Despite being children-focused games, they are a great example of a more advanced type of play. Games that are asymmetrical, where the two competing parties are obeying a different set of rules. For example, in hide and seek, there is one seeker whose goal is to find a group of people whose goal is to hide from that seeker. And nowadays, in the era of video games, there is a lot of those asymmetrical experiences. And among them, there is Dead by Daylight, where one player needs to literally kill 4 people engaging in a ritualistic trial of pain and suffering, stalking and hunting them down before killing them. But in order to kill them, they need to hang them on these hooks 2 times each, making them scream for help, making them suffer, so the entity that orchestrated it all can consume their hollow husks and feed on their traumatized and destroyed emotions. While the other side of these 4 people I mentioned, they are called survivors. They need to repair 5 generators, open a gate, and survive. I guess. Yeah. Well, if I put it like that, it sounds simple somehow. But the ecosystem of DBD is quite dense, and with that, what if I tell you that this game is not about one side of this conflict winning, but the game itself purely existing? This might be absurd if the game itself is about pain and suffering, but hear me out. From an outside perspective, it would be easy to state that in order for one side to win, the team of survivors must escape, or the killer must sacrifice them all to the entity. Dead by Daylight revolves around collecting blood points, a currency that will help us progress. And if you play for some time, it is easily noticeable that on this blood point based system that normally would determine if a game is a win or not, it doesn't mainly count that win. Escaping for a survivor is indeed wealthy addition to your blood points for the game, but by itself, it doesn't even give you a single dot for your survivor grade. The balance is slightly different for the killer, but still killing only 4 survivors in the span of like 5 minutes won't give you that much. So does it mean that this competitive game doesn't even reward you when you're just good? Well, it does reward you when you're good, but not when you're good at winning the game, but when you're good at playing the game, and especially continuing to play it. Because Dead by Daylight lives and dies on that concept. It relies on the so-called trials, which are the matches, solely existing. The play itself must be maintained. And that brings me to the title of this video, The Magic Circle, and what it is even about. There was this Dutch historian called Johan Huizinga, and he had a great deal of impact on ludology as a whole. Something we might know today as game studies in the early 19th century was focused solely around play, that being the ludus part of the ludology term. In his book Homo Ludens, Huizinga wrote about a playground, the arena, the card table, the magic circle, the stage, the screen, the tennis court, etc. are all in form and function playgrounds, within which special rules obtain. All are temporary worlds within the ordinary world, dedicated to the performance of an act apart. This is crucial, and this is what the magic circle is. A temporary world shielded from the ordinary world that existence is dedicated to something. In a video game, it is the game itself. For example, when we boot up the newest Silent Hill, we press play and we enter the magic circle, a space where there are different rules than in real life. In a video game terms, it is easy to understand because it is a created world that doesn't give us much of a choice if we want to be a transgressive player, usually. In the video game version of chess, we can only play one turn at a time and move our pawns the way they are supposed to be moved. There, it is simple. In real life while playing chess, you have literally the free will and the possibility to pick up a chess piece and throw it at your opponent. You can throw the board off the table and even kill the other player. But this is not the game. This is not the magic circle. It ceases to exist when one participant just abandons the rules that fuel its existence. And that is why it exists, to maintain the rules, to make this space of play its little own universe where the game happens. Although the term itself wasn't explicitly defined in Huizinga's book I just quoted, The concept was already there, and many years later, Eric Zimmerman and Katie Salen picked it up and wrote about it more directly in 2003's Rules of Play. That is when it got popularized. Slowly going back to Dead by Daylight, I want to mention something else, how Magic Circle isn't purely about play and games. Huizinga referred this concept not only to play, but to rituals. Just as there is no formal difference between play and ritual, so the consecrated spot cannot be formally distinguished from the playground, the arena, the card table, the magic circle. The temple, the stage, the screen, the tennis court, even the court of justice, are all in form and function playgrounds. These are also magic circles. During a Christian mass, there are different roles like priests, deacons, and obviously the churchgoers themselves. There are rules and order in which everything happens, for example. It's insane when you think about it deeper, because in broader perspective, everything can become its own little ritual, or at least resemble some parts of a magic circle. School, a job interview. In all, you can see society as its own huge magic circle. Not that magic circle equals a ritual, but it is there. And like, wait, what was Dead by Daylight even about? Like thematically, sacrifice, trials. There are like different roles to it, and an order to things. Wait, it is a ritual. It would be easy to end this video off with a conclusion that Dead by Daylight is a magic circle like every other video game, but in fact I wanted to speak about this because I saw something really interesting in how this game operates. The general set of rules for this game allows us to kill the players as a killer or just repair the gens and escape as the survivors. We can all do that under 3 minutes, and there are ways and techniques to master this speedrun type of gameplay. But the game itself is about the ritual. Purely on the level of rules and what is happening inside a single trial, this ritual, in order to be completed well, it must be about the play, not the win. Dead by Daylight is a game about cats and mouse after all. The rules were designed to be this perfect homage to the slasher horror genre, and it is a genre with rules for both the victims and the killer. These rules are the foundation of the constant tension. The constant tension is what makes it so thrilling and engaging. It's never about the resolution. Like, while thinking about jumpscares and how they are an instant relief of previously built tension, Dead by Daylight is not about instant relief. It's never about who kills everyone or who escapes to see the day. It's about who fuels the play itself the most. It's about the longest possible chases. It's about the most insane saves. After that, it's about healing and then doing it again. Dead by Daylight is a playground for those emotions, and it is interesting to see how the rules itself that guide the blood point system literally promotes mostly that. There are 4 categories in which we gather points, and they have maximum capacity, so in order to gain the most from a single trial, we have to do everything. For survivors, these are doing the objectives, helping others, obviously staying alive, and being chased by the killer. There is literally a pool for points that tells you to put yourself in danger to profit off of it. So these are all the points you get from playing, not winning. The win itself is only a fraction of what we can get. The funny thing is that it is all backed up by the lore of the game. The mysterious being called the Entity craves this type of game that is meant to be played. That is why Memento Mori, which allows you as a killer to kill a survivor by hand, is a rare offering where you literally ask the game master, which here is the Entity, like in a TTRPG game, so you will be able to do it. It's a kind of rule of cool situation that is not so common. Well, it is kind of common, but it shouldn't be. The whole world of Dead by Daylight is an alternative universe where both the killers and the survivors are competing in these trials to create strong emotions which feed the overlord of this world, which is the Entity. This is literally the Colosseum all over again, but in order to drain the most from the victims, they have to be hooked multiple times to cultivate the pain in them, like it's a seed that is meant to be planted and grown to extreme proportions. It is messed up, but it is a really well thought out and really strong thematic core that is present both in the rules of the game and its story. And this is what is so special about Dead by Daylight. It is exactly the type of magic circle that allows players to have fun, not necessarily work their asses off to be met by a defeat screen anyway. It's never about you either win or you lose. Sometimes a player who died for the others might do as well in the results screen as the ones who escaped, because he was the one being chased by the killer the whole game, while others did the objectives and dodged the killer. This player died for them, but the game still acknowledged it, and it's not that big of a deal if you die in this game anyway. You might play 5 trials in a row where there is so much going on. There are games where both the killer and the survivors participate in this ritual head to head, playing hide and seek, cat and mouse, and it is such a glorious match in which eventually no one even died. But it was so tense that both teams scored so high, there was nothing more to say than just GG, well played. After those 5 intense trials, there might be a game where you feel kind of more silly and playful and decide to do something stupid, because the game allows you to. It is a coliseum after all. You can poke the killer and play around. By the rules of the game, this will still give you points. And if the killer sees you doing weird things and they're also not so serious about it all, they might respond back. And as a little break, these matches with friendly killers, no matter what their outcome is, are always so hilarious and fun. And you still gain so much points from them because you're just playing. Acknowledging all of this, there are also many unwritten rules in Dead by Daylight which add an additional layer of how someone might be engaged in this game, a kind of Dead by Daylight etiquette. The unwritten rules go back to Zimmerman and Selek's rules of play. These are things that aren't explicitly set in the rules themselves, but they are still things that are valued as rules for the community. That's why they tend to be so debatable, because everyone can have a different opinion on what to do with them and a decision to respect them. That's literally how it is in Dead by Daylight. Besides the unwritten rules in the department of silly things, there's like a game of red light, green light, when the killer decides to let you go on one condition. You must outmatch them in this little trial of its own. There's so many little things like that inside DBD's community, like even the ritual to poke the nose of Amanda, the pig killer, the so-called Boop the Snoot. Like, this is insane in itself, but I love these things to the core about this game. And well, there is the crown jewel of this unwritten thing and it's obviously tunneling. Tunneling is basically focusing on a single survivor and eliminating them out of the game as soon as possible. Killers who do that will often camp the hook. Now, as there are a lot of anti-tunnel systems, they can proxy camp, which is basically still camping but kind of from a distance, not to trigger the anti-tunnel self-unhook bar. This can also apply to survivors, when as a pre-mate you can utilize some insane tactic to just outplay the killer so they never see you. These things are just not okay and like boring. Now, viewing tunneling and these tactics through the perspective of the Magic Circle shows how it literally destroys this game, especially for the tunneled player or the outmatched inexperienced killer. They are just cut out of the act of playing. They can't farm points, they leave sad and maybe even uninstall the game frustrated if it persists. But also, for some, this might be the definition of fun, dominating others. To pull out more from the rules of playbook, such player type would be literally the so-called killer, who seeks fun in obviously winning, but even more in destroying others. The satisfaction in being better and stuff. They might even flame you through chat afterwards. Sounds like a kind of an issue, if you ask me, but this type of players does exist and everyone probably met one somewhere in the gaming world. After all, like, why can't we just have fun and allow others to have fun too? That's maybe why I recently fell in love with Dead by Daylight, or maybe just the ideal version of it. It's not a perfect game, and it really shows, because there are moments when behavior does something and I start to question their whole success. But still, there is a lot to it and its ideas. And especially in its particular rendition of the Magic Circle, that shows you that it is not so important to only win, but to enjoy the play itself. Being kind of a mid or average player in competitive games myself, I learned that a long while ago while playing League with my friends. When you're focused solely on the losses, what other direction is there to go than just let go and play? So many players put their emotional well-being in the hands of their matchmaking queues and their win ratios. If you won a few games today, the day is good, but if you didn't, you have a bad humor. Sometimes it even might harm relationships, players lashing out on their friends because of a skill difference. And all of that for what? If you let go, you will learn with time how to be better if you still put your mind to it. And then the wins will come when they do. And it's okay. You can just enjoy the game and the time you spend together with your friends in those fictional worlds. Not if you get to Diamond by the end of the season. Dead by Daylight, or its ideal version, like I said, provides an environment where that kind of is the case, where enjoyment matters more than the pure numbers on your profile's match history. And, well, that's really beautiful. And I wish more developers and more players would learn something from it. Journey before destination, right? That's all for today. Thank you for watching, and see you in more videos to come.